In the northern suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri, just a few minutes from both Liberty and Kansas City, a magical place for both adults and children, where parents now bring their own children to experience a piece of their own childhood. It's called Penguin Park. Yes, here I am at Penguin Park, a place that holds many fond memories for me, especially with regard to the gentleman you see standing behind my left shoulder to your right.
Dr. Smith, help me up here!
What? Certainly not. What are you doing?
These seem to be some kind of electronically powered animals. We can get away on them.
Oh, fine. Come on.
The park, which sits at the corner of North Norton Avenue and Vivian Road, is actually Lakewood Greenway Park, though that corner was officially renamed Penguin Park in 1998. It has your typical playground things like swings and monkey bars and those kinds of things, but the large penguin, kangaroo, giraffe, and elephant are all part of the park's unique collection of large-scale fiberglass animals made by hand almost half a century ago by an engineer and craftsman named Vernon Jones. The name of the park was changed to Penguin Park in 1998 after the 25-foot-tall iconic fiberglass penguin, one of the first to be installed.
Ron McCoy is warped.
That's time warped? Used to be that you could actually go up some steps inside the giant penguin and then slide down a curving slide. They have eradicated that, although you can crawl into the penguin. This 25-foot penguin is the focal point in Penguin Park. Inside the pavilion is a plethora of information about the history of Penguin Park. Penguin Park, a Northland treasure. 1957, approximately 750 acres of land are acquired to mark the beginning of a park system in Kansas City North. Penguin Park, then called Lakewood Greenway, is one of these original acquisitions. The park initially consists of a simple merry-go-round, a small fire truck replica, and a wooden bridge to run on. 1965, Santa's Wonderland Northland opens for the first time and features a 25-foot-tall penguin with a slide inside and a giant giraffe. Crafted of fiberglass by Kansas City Park Department employee Vernon Jones, the menagerie of the park grew to include an elephant and a mama kangaroo. We were basically building our own playground equipment. Today, we just buy it off of a shelf, recalls Mark McHenry, director for the Parks and Recreation Department for Kansas City, Missouri. But back then, we had to create all of this ourselves. McHenry used to work for Jones and says they even built their own picnic benches in those days. The superintendent for Kansas City Parks and Recreation at the time, Frank Vadlik, wanted to build a Santa's Wonderland for the city, so he let Vernon Jones use his imagination and go to town. Using pipes, plastic, wood, fiberglass, and some recycled materials, Jones created a large-scale Santa Claus and snowman slide. They were part of the Gillum Park Santa's Wonderland for years. A year later, in 1965, it was decided that the Northland would have its own Wonderland. So Jones started working on a penguin and a giraffe for the new park. Interestingly, Vernon Jones was also responsible for designing and constructing the walk-through whale that used to exist at the Kansas City Zoo. Why a penguin? I'm not sure why he picked a penguin, says McHenry. Jones had a real vision and loved kids. I think he was one of the first originators of what I call the destination playground. You know, a lot of times playgrounds will just be a swing or a slide, you know, a small item within the park, but this is a place where you can spend some time. In my family, we had an annual tradition. My grandfather would bring my sisters and me over here to Penguin Park every year in December, and afterwards we would drive down Vivian Road and we would have lunch at Church's Chicken. 1989, almost 25 years have passed and the Penguin is showing its age. Moisture damage and worn fiberglass bring Vernon Jones out of retirement to refurbish his original creation. In an article in the Kansas City Star, Vernon Jones was quoted as, "I thought I'd better fix the Penguin because no one else would."
The Penguin Park concept became something that Vernon was really focused on. He wanted to do a playground that was more than your normal playground.
"1996, Save the Penguin" becomes the rallying cry as a major park renovation and expansion project begins, and there's talk of eliminating the beloved bird to save money. Concerned citizens mobilize to help the Parks Department in the renaissance of this much adored park. 1998, through the work of countless volunteers and the dedicated Parks Department staff, the Penguin and his fiberglass friends are all saved and are now surrounded by a shelter house, riding toys, flower beds, and a walking trail. The 3 4/10 acre park is officially renamed Penguin Park. The time has come to flutter away from Penguin Park. Down Vivian Road a piece, we are now heading to Stroud's Oakridge Manor. Yes, here I am at Stroud's Oakridge Manor. Used to be known as Sandy's Oakridge Manor. Regardless of the name, it holds a place in my heart because my family would dine here frequently throughout the years, and most recently on my birthday, November 18, 2025, as I turned the auspicious 65, we dined here to celebrate. This Justice statue, which you see on the right, at one time topped the original Clay County Courthouse beginning in 1829. The building we now know as Stroud's Oakridge Manor began as a two-room log cabin built on a parcel of land granted to David Hale in 1827. Using the walnut and white oak of wood available on the property, he constructed a sturdy home for his family. Today, when you enter the front door at Stroud's Oakridge Manor, you can still see the walls of the original log cabin, along with historical artifacts and antiques collected from the families who have called this place home over the years. The James A. Compton residence survives as one of Kansas City's oldest surviving residential structures, which served as the home of the prominent Compton family. The present structure, owned by the family from 1844 to 1954, was built around the original 1829 constructed log cabin. The home served as the center of social life in Clay County and today acts as a reminder of the area's early history, long before Kansas City evolved into a significant urban center. 13 years later, in 1840, Hale sold the property to James and Mary Ann Compton, who began clearing the trees on the land to plant crops and make a living. Farming proved successful, and as the couple started having children, they expanded the two-room cabin into a proper 10-room homestead. Over the years, their sprawling estate became the center of social life in Clay County, hosting parties, dances, dinners, and more. The next stewards of the property were Darwin and Louise Sandstrom, who purchased the home and its furnishings from Miss Emma Compton, the last surviving member of the Compton family, in 1954. Her family had owned the property for over 114 years before she sold what was left to the married couple. The Sandstroms upgraded the home with indoor plumbing and electricity, intending to run a restaurant while keeping a few of the upstairs bedrooms intact for their own occasional use. They called their restaurant Sandy's Oakridge Manor, quickly gaining fame for serving German specialties like sauerbraten and Louise's beloved peanut butter pie. Louise was so protective of these recipes that she wouldn't make them in front of the cooks that she hired, preferring to prepare them in secret after everyone had gone home. This is where the story of Stroud's Oakridge Manor takes a slight turn, leading us to South Kansas City in 1977. Two young bartenders from Kelly's Westport Inn, Mike Donegan and Jim Hogan, purchased the original Stroud's restaurant at 1015 East 85th Street near 85th and Troost Avenue. The restaurant, located in an old roadhouse under a bridge, was dark inside with creaky wooden floors, but people came from miles around for its legendary pan-fried chicken.
Don't lag! Oh,
Wait for me!
We now return your kiddie park and fried chicken restaurant to you until the next compelling installment of Ron McCoy is Time Warped.
Oh, I'm being pulled into another fantastic adventure somewhere along the infinite corridors of time. Here I am outside the current Liberty Post Office, a modern facility, but the Liberty Post Office hasn't always been located here. Where else was it located? We'll find out in a topic that will be most intriguing.